And I'm deeply honored to invite our panelists and panel moderator up to stage. So Yvonne O'Meara, she is a psychotherapist and psychosocial oncologist who will be leading the panel discussion. Then we have Sally Kwenda from Kenya. She is a three-time survivor, cancer survivor, and has been living with HIV since 1999. And then we have Conor O'Reilly from Ireland. His wife, Molly, passed away from vulva cancer, and now he works to raise awareness in her honor. And once again, also Faye Peace, a survivor of womb cancer from the UK as well. So please. So Yvonne, when you are ready, please. Yeah. Okay.
So I know everybody's hungry and the lack of carbs, it's like the graveyard shift up here. So we'll try and keep you awake. And so with that in mind, um, so this is the Voices of Resilience, of which we're going to spend the next 30 minutes talking about. But I'm just going to invite you to think about what comes up for you as our patient advocates talk about their experience of resilience, because I'm going to hand over 10 minutes of the session to you and invite you to think about how their story has made you feel, particularly rather than thinking how you're feeling as a result. And there'll be a roaming mic at the back. So when it comes to that time, I'll ask you to put up your hand and to share your thoughts. And then we'll come back to the panel for them to have the last word. Um, so I would like you to say a few words as to why you're here, maybe to start the discussion. I'll start with you, Conor, and we'll work our way through.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Conor O'Reilly. I'm 50 years of age, and as you can see, I am a Church of Ireland rector in County Kildare. And last year, February last year, I lost my wife, Molly, to vulval cancer after a long 7-year battle. And I am very determined. Molly herself was very determined to raise awareness of vulval cancer because it's not a very common one. It's not something that people know a lot about. And she was very keen to raise awareness, and she did during her own battle with cancer. And now that she's gone, I feel that I'm her voice in the world now, and I want to carry on raising that awareness of that cancer that unfortunately took her life so prematurely.
Thank you, Conor. And Sophie, we've heard a little bit about you, but maybe just briefly again.
Hi everyone. So I'm from Worcestershire in England, and as you know, I got a diagnosis in 2021 of stage 3 womb cancer, and I was really inspired by Dame Deborah, who unfortunately passed away. But when she did pass away, I felt like she passed me the baton to carry on doing the campaigning and raising awareness, which is so important.
Thank you, Faye. And Sally.
Hi, good afternoon once again. So Sally from Kenya, Nairobi. I am a patient advocate. Growing up, I really wanted to be a doctor, and I'm happy that I'm sitting in the midst of medics. I call myself a QBE, qualified by experience. Experience from the School of Health or sickness, let me call it sickness, because I was diagnosed with HIV in the 90s when stigma was stigma, not like now. Now we have ARVs for free. And what motivated me to speak about my story of cancer is because of what I went through with HIV and even survived cancer. And so I became a patient advocate because of the experience I had from the suffering and people not speaking. I realized that if we don't go the HIV way, we can never conquer cancer. And so today I am the founder of Kenya Ostomy Association. I am a survivor of colorectal cancer, so I lost my part of my colon, my rectum, and of course the anus. So I have a special bag, it's a colostomy bag. I've lived with this condition for the last 14 years. And so I formed this group to be able to support and help others who are not able to speak boldly like I do. And I'm happy that I'm here today to share my story.
Thank you, Sally. So, to start the discussion, when you were invited to partake in the Voices of Resilience, is that a word that you would associate with yourself prior to being invited on the stage or invited to come today to speak?
It's not something that I ever thought that I was. I never associated myself with resilience. It's only from people saying to me that you're very resilient, you're such a fighter, you're getting through things. So no, it's not something I would think of, but having spoken to you about it, I realised just how resilient I am through all of my treatments, and now going forward as well, being able to advocate, and having to relive my story.
So, what was it about the discussion that invited you to think about resilience in a different way and associate it to you? What was it that, what was the light bulb moment? I know you spoke about one earlier for you, but what was it about resilience and the light bulb moment?
I suppose when I was actually going through my journey, wasn't really thinking about what I was. I was just concentrating day by day on getting through. So yeah, it's when you've got that time to actually reflect on your journey.
Okay, thank you, Faye. Connor, the same question when you were invited to partake in this panel and the Voices of the Resilience being the theme, how did it rest with you? Is that a word that you would associate yourself with?
Yeah, it wasn't something that I recognized it myself straight away, um, because since I lost Molly, it's been very, very difficult. Um, it completely upended my life. Um, I remember the morning after her funeral, I woke up and I said, "Well, where do I go now? You know, life has completely been changed. The person that I expected to live 40, 50 years with is no longer here. And how do you move on and how do you try and live life on a day-to-day basis?" And I mean, I'll be honest, there was mornings I didn't want to get out of bed, um, but I had to. I had a parish to run. Um, I had a little dog to look after. And these things got me out of bed. And, uh, you know, on a day to day basis, then you just have to get on with whatever you have to get on with on a daily basis. And people have said to me, you know, and still say to me, "You're doing very well," you know, and I'm saying, really? Because sometimes I don't feel like that at all. I feel I'm in inner turmoil, you know. But it's a case, I suppose, you've no choice. Um, this card has been dealt to me in my own life, um, something that I never would have chosen. And it's a case of sink or swim. And I know the type of person Molly was during her cancer journey. She was a warrior, she was a fighter, she never gave up. And I think I'm channeling Molly in my life these days, that I can nearly hear her in my head, "Connor, don't give up." Yeah. She's still speaking. And she, you know, I think I'm channeling some of that in my own resilience, that I have to keep going, I have to go on. And I think this being able to advocate for greater awareness of vulva cancer is giving me resilience as well. That she was a fighter, she wanted awareness of vulva cancer, and I know that she would want me to do this. And that's given me the fight and the fire in my belly to get up in the morning and keep going on a daily basis.
Yeah, you raised some very good points there about, I suppose, the community and what motivates us to do these things, and then the fallout and the positive fallout of that. But before we discuss that further, Sally, um, you know, when I heard your story first, I felt it in my tummy. You've gone through so much, but when you were invited onto this space, is this a word that you resonates with you? This word resilience.
Yeah, it's very difficult to put cancer and resilience in one sentence. But having survived. Sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional because a lot of things have been triggered. Yeah, when I got HIV, the 90s, I attempted suicide. Those of you who know the Indian Ocean, I'm a non-swimmer, but I dived into the ocean. And I believe my creator saved me miraculously. And he told me, I want you to go and save my people. And so for me, I have no choice but to do this. So when I was called to come here, I said, okay, these are the God's people that he sent me to go and speak to. And I'm glad that I can do this. And I can say that if you're walking on the road, maybe I know Ireland has a very good, it's very clean and the streets are clean, but let me refer to Kenya. Sometimes you walk and you find that people are eating bananas like we're eating now and just throwing the pills on the streets. So if you skid and fall as a result of that banana peel, you won't stay there. You'll stand and walk. But for me, I've decided to remove that peel so that the next person doesn't fall like I did. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally, for your honesty, and thank you for that lovely analogy. We're glad that that peel has been removed, and I suppose maybe that's from listening to your story, maybe that's the start of you recognizing your resilience. Would that be an observation that might resonate with you? Sorry, sharing the mic is challenging.
Yeah, at first it wasn't easy because my family was resisting. You know, there's a lot of stigma that comes with HIV. And of course, you know, when you have HIV, then you have a compromised immune system. And that's when I was diagnosed with cervical cancer in 2007. And just as my colleague says, I had to go through total hysterectomy and I'd lost 2 babies because of HIV. Thankfully, we now have intervention of prevention of mother to child transmission. Initially, there was none. And so I lost 2 babies as a result, one at 7 months, one at 2 months. And so having total hysterectomy meant that I was not going to have babies. And at this point, my husband couldn't take it and say, like, I'm only 30. Why should I live with a woman who cannot give me babies? And he took off. And so I said, I will not allow other women to go through what I've gone through. Cervical cancer is one cancer that can be eliminated. And so I share my story so that women can be screened early enough so that they don't go through what I went through.
Thank you, Sally. Resilience often arises when we are most despair. It's this inner resource that we're not born with, but that we acquire through our engagement and interaction with others. So I'm struck, Connor, by what you said initially. Why do I get up in the morning? Why do you?
I get up because I know that's what Molly would want me to do. She never lay down under the cancer over the 7-year journey. And I know she would not want me to lie down. So she's a big inspiration as well. The biggest inspiration that she would not want me to give up. She'd want me to keep going. And she would want me to raise awareness of the cancer that took her life. As I said, she was very determined for awareness to be raised about that. And that is the biggest source of my resilience. Molly, if anyone had to know her, she was an inspiring person. She was a strong person, very determined, never gave up, always fought. And that is very clear in my mind ever since, that that's the person I loved. That's the person I married. She amazed me. And that she would want me to do the same. So yeah, the biggest source of my resilience is Molly. The courage she had, that she would expect, I think, me to do the same.
Would she be surprised to see you up here today?
Oh, she'd be shocked. She would have a good, she'd have a little smile about this.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
she would.
Faye, what feeds your resilience?
It's with my campaigning, I want there to be these positive outcomes. I want, like I said, I want it to go worldwide. I want everybody to be able to have that access and make those changes. So that's what keeps me going.
So, in a way, this public or patient involvement engagement work feeds your resilience,
Yeah.
enabling you to continue to do it.
Yeah, so I do other PPI work as well. So I've been involved with forums, and I'm currently involved with some ongoing work from Oxford University, some trials that they're doing. So all of that just gives me hope for the future for the women and people with gynae organs that come behind me. Will have a better outcome and a better story than me.
And would others around you notice that there's been a shift in your relationship with resilience? So when people say to you, or people say, "Oh, you're so strong," or "You're amazing," those type of words, is that something new to your narrative that previously didn't exist?
Yeah, it wasn't something that I would have heard before I had cancer. So it's not like it's something that people drop into the conversation, but it's just something that really you've made me realise about myself just by asking those questions.
But we are always the same people. It's just a situation that has invited us to be different, or to rise to the occasion in the way that it's done. Sally, how about you? What feeds your resilience in light of all that you have gone through and experienced?
For me, I would say that each time I wake up is a privilege. And I really appreciate the gift of life. The fact that I can wake up every morning and inspire other people. There's so many phone calls that I get every day of women saying, "I've heard your story and I would wish you to come and speak to my relative." Or a doctor calling me and asking me, "Would you come and speak to a patient who needs to go through a surgery and they are declining? Would you want to share your story with them?" So each day I receive these phone calls, and it gives me uh, the power to face the day and to do what I need to do, which is advocacy and sharing my story of hope.
Um, thank you. So it really strikes me that resilience is very much embedded in communities. Connor, you mentioned about your parish, and people saying to you, "You're doing great." What does your parish mean to you? What does your community mean to you in relation to your resilience?
It's been a very important part of my resilience. Someone paid me a very nice compliment recently. They said, "Connor, you're our spiritual leader." And the fact that you're able to do your job on a daily basis and give us hope in our lives gives us the courage to deal with whatever adversity we have in our own personal lives. Nothing to do with cancer; it could be all sorts of things. Um, so they said, "Look, as I said, you're our spiritual leader, and the fact that you're able to handle, even though I wouldn't agree sometimes I do, as I said, I'm in turmoil myself personally, but the fact that you're able to do what you have to do in the parish on a daily basis is an inspiration to us. Um, and if you can do it, uh, maybe we can do it as well." Um, and that, I found that personally inspiring. You know, they've been the people in the parish have been a great support. I only arrived in the parish 3 months before Molly actually died. Um, and so their first association with me was Molly being terminally ill and then unfortunately passing away. Um, so it was a very difficult start to life there. But they've got nearly 2 years down the road, have got to know me, and have got to know me in the role of ministry. And ministry is challenging at the best of times, but it's especially challenging when you're in the middle of bereavement and loss yourself. And in my line of work, you're facing illness and death the whole time. And yeah, you have to be very aware yourself. And it's not about being selfish, but you do have to practice self-care. That you are being exposed to illness and death, and how to look after yourself in those situations. And one of the things I found very helpful is counselling. I go to counselling myself. I wouldn't have really gone to counselling in my life before this, but I realised that I can't do this myself, that I need help. And there's nothing wrong with looking for help. And the help is there if you look for it. And that helps you be resilient as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Connor. So I'm going to pause for our panel now, and I'll go back to them to give them the last word. So now it's over to you. So as our three panelists have been really honest with regards their relationship with resilience and what's brought them to the table today, I'd love to invite you. My goodness, there's a whole load of people there. I didn't see you. I apologize with my shoulder to you. But I'd invite you to share what's come up for you as you listen to the panelists share their stories. And maybe if you have a small synopsis of your experience of resilience. And it doesn't have to be about cancer resilience. And that's, I think sometimes it's unfortunate that it takes a crisis to realize and for others to comment on how special or amazing that we are. And what struck me when I worked with a panel is when I listened to their stories, I mean, they just reeked of resilience to me, yet none of my panelists could recognize this until it was spelled out to them. So over to you. If you put up your hand, or if anyone's courageous and they want to stand and come to the mic, please feel free, but I think that's quite intimidating. So I have no prize for the first person to speak. I apologize.
Hello, thank you so much for sharing your stories. You're very inspirational. And I think for me, listening to you, inspiration is the feeling that I have. There's a saying about trees, and trees only become strong when the wind is blowing. And so I just think about how your mission to help others, I see you as reaching for higher and becoming stronger at the same time. And it's, I think you inspire others to shine their light, to reach higher. So thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you for that lovely comment. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Lovely. Some ladies and a gent over here.
Hi, my name is Lynn Fenton, and I'm a patient representative on the 221 Plus group here in Ireland. I would also share my story and things like that, but through the sharing that I have done, I have found a great sense of healing and self-healing. And I wanted to ask each of the panelists, like, if they have found a good sense of healing with sharing your stories, and especially when you talk to others who possibly have gone through similar situations, or when they comment to you.
So, Lynn, unfortunately, there's no questions to the panelists. Apologies, but they can share their reflections afterwards. But it seems for me that you experience vicarious resilience through your sharing. So it builds, it tops up your battery regarding resilience. Thank you very much for sharing that. There's a lady over there.
Hi, thank you. My name's Jackie. I'm from Birmingham. I'm a member of Go Hilda's Gynae Cancer Group. I got diagnosed in 2021 with ovarian cancer, 1A. And I listening to your stories today, has made me realize how essential um, sharing stories and advocacy is, especially when when you're going through the initial stages of a diagnosis, because there's a lot of fear around. Um, and yes, you can have your support systems and what have you, but if you haven't got people who have gone through it to reassure you and to make you know that it's not a death sentence, um, you know, I bet if I had people like you to speak to, that I wouldn't have been so scared in the initial stages. So, your work is essential, and um, yeah, just keep telling your stories.
Thank you very much, Faye. So there's a gentleman in the front here. He's going to stand up.
Yes, I am from Mexico City,
You're
and
welcome.
my English is, I hope, fine. I had cancer, skin cancer. My father has skin cancer, but I am a surgical oncologist. So in my life, I see that the people that are around you and they talk to you with bad news. The society has to make a scale for checkpoint. No, no, you don't have to be with me. No, that's a main important uh, point that the people that says to you bad notice when you have cancer has to be outside of your life. So a checkpoint. No, you can be with me. Go ahead. That's a really important thing that I have. I'm boss of gynecological cancer in Mexico City, and we have that trouble. The females comes with treatment, natural treatment, because the mother that says to her. So we have to do something that they can say, no, you can be with me. Go ahead. No.
Thank you very much for sharing that. I much appreciate it.
This will be our last one, and we'll wrap up in a few minutes.
Hi, thank you so much for sharing your story. My name's Sarah Nolly. I was diagnosed with stage 3 low grade ovarian cancer 2 years ago at the age of 26. And I remember at the time I had moved to a new location, got a new job, and within the space of a week, I found myself in a hospital bed. And the day before I got the final diagnosis, no one was around, just myself. I remember turning to God, number one. And then number two, I went online. And who did I find? Only Vicky Phelan, which is, as many people in the room know, a patient advocate for cervical cancer in Ireland. I also turned to Bile Babe. I turned to inspirations like you guys and everyone in this room. So then following on from that, I knew everything was going to be okay from hearing from the likes of you guys. And you've no idea, like, following on from my diagnosis, I speak openly about it, but it does chip away at you. And I think the power of education and the power of your voice and the utilization of all that, it is very important. But you have to be commended on even getting up there and speaking, because it does chip away, doesn't it? So thank you so much for the work you do. And you never know, there may be someone somewhere, unbeknownst to you, looking you up, and you're that healing or that shining light in the corner. So well done. Thank you.
Thank you for that. There's just one other gentleman who wants to comment there, and then I'll come back to the panel and we'll wind it up a minute.
Hello, Clark McComb from Riverhead, New York, out on the east end of Long Island. My mother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer in 2014, and she died from ovarian cancer in 2018. It was an incredible journey of education, because from one day to the next, the family's lives changed. We have a family farm. I worked together with my mother and father for the last 60 years, and suddenly issues of, what's going to be planted or harvested gets changed into who's taking Gertrude, my mother, to chemotherapy. We didn't know anything about support groups or a network of like SHARE or National Ovarian Cancer people to talk to. My wife, who's a gynecologic oncologist, was incredible in helping us understand all of these terms that were completely bewildering. And I guess, I mean, I could go on and all the stories, but I think what I want to say is I've been to several meetings with my wife, SGO and so on, and you have all the doctors, and I'm the lay person trying to understand and follow and continue my education. But having a meeting like this is so important for the caregivers, the family, to understand what's going on and how important the emotional support is to the patient. I think that that's as maybe even more important than the treatment because the journey does come to an end. And my mother decided at the end, no more. And that was a whole nother issue of education of how to deal with the end. And I think that maybe also should become a part of these discussions because it's as you know, it's just incredibly difficult. And thank you, and thank you for presenting this as, you know, day one of this conference.
Thank you for your voice. Thank you. So we are 1 minute to go. I start at 17. Right. I'm going to leave the last word with our panelists. So if you wouldn't mind just sharing perhaps in one sentence what it's been like for you to share your story and then to listen to all our participating audiences. Thank you for engaging with this. What it's been like for you today. I'll start with you, Connor.
It's been wonderful for me to be able to speak to you all from the perspective of someone who has survived, someone who has lost their life to cancer. It's when Molly died last year, I thought that was the end of the journey, the cancer journey, but it's not. The journey continues and the fight goes on. And the fight to create an awareness of this vulva cancer that took her life goes on. And I find myself her voice now. And, you know, that the journey is not over. The journey continues. And that the fight goes on until, please God, future generations of women don't have to go through what Molly went through.
Thank you, Connor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Faye.
It's been inspirational to be here today, meeting so many wonderful people that have got their own stories and have their own resilience that they may not have realised that they had until we had this discussion. So I hope that you do all realise how resilient you are.
Thank you, Faye.
So we realize that we all have stories. It's just we are privileged to be sitting here. And I wish to challenge us. Every day when we wake up, we're given 24 hours. 8 hours sleep, 8 hours work to put food on the table. What do you do with the other 8 hours? I've chosen to share my story and I encourage you to do the same. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the panel sincerely and also for IGCS for facilitating this today. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much. This was a wonderful panel and wonderful session. And I think every one of us learned something and get it to the heart and can give strength and wisdoms also in your home country and in your society. So thank you.